Greetings, Legionnaires, and welcome to the Wrestling Legion Weekly Podcast. Sorry we were away last week. We were all very busy men, but we are back because this week has had some big news. This week, I'm Nick the Geek, and I'm joined by some fantastic brains, some fantastic friends, and one fantastic guest. It is awesome, as usual, to have my partner in crime, Simon, here. Simon, how are you?
It's a beautiful day, mate. I was really excited to see a special guest, and then we found out it was Zane. Yeah.
And of course, we are joined by the Redeemer himself, the man who brought this pain on us all, Andy. Andy, how are you?
Well, the way I look at it is Zane goes through enough pain and suffering without, we might as well share it with the world.
And that brings me finally to our special guest this week, a good friend of ours. We haven't seen him in a while. He's going through some stuff, and we're just glad he's safe. And quite frankly, we're all over the moon to see him. It's Zane. Zane, how are you?
Well, that's the first time anyone's been nice to me on this podcast, or any podcast for that matter. So I'll return the favor. I'm really glad to be amongst these people who are just who have their legs hanging in the graves, who are gonna die anytime now. So I'm really sorry that you guys have had to see these old men groaning on the podcast for the past few months without me over here. So I'm ready to bring some life, and I hope the comments are really happy to see me. I noticed a few regulars over here, so. Yeah, drop some Z's in the chat for me.
Zane, in 20 years, you'll probably be an old man groaning about wrestling on Twitter, but none of us will be alive to see it, so, it doesn't matter.
Okay, gentlemen, on to business. First of all, hello, Courtney, and hello, David. It's good to see you as usual. Glad you could join us. Right, but we've got quite a bit to talk about this week. First of all, we're going to go with the header. What we had, right?
Sorry, first of all, can I just say, Zane, turn your computer down before I kick you remotely through the head.
Yeah. Because it's definitely you. Because I can hear myself talking every time I talk.
Okay, yeah.
It's really distracting.
You should have told me this before the fucking podcast.
It's only just happened.
Oh, okay. Give me a second.
Sorry about this, folks. Technical issues. He's in a different country. Right, but we'll carry on as usual, and I'll try not to shout. First off, lads, first thing on the bill. Finally, after a year enough of speculation, fallout, are they getting on? Is there legal action? Is he coming back? Is he not coming back? Is he going to go anywhere? Tony Khan confirmed the best in the world is coming back. I am over the moon. I've been a CM Punk mark for years. Punk is confirmed for Collision. What do we think about this, Andy? Is this good news? Is he the reason they're having a roster split? Is this bad news? What's this do to Wembley?
It's amazing news. It's amazing news. I think there is a brand split, and I don't think a brand split is a bad thing for AEW. I think it's a really, really good move by them because they do have a quite swelled roster. And we all know if there's any more people, they will just keep on bringing in more and more. So having that brand split will make that as well. And then also on the other flip side of it is, I think Punk gets frustrated if he gets lost in the mix. If there's a show built around him and he can get the ratings in with the rest of it. Also, he's known for putting people over. He's known for helping people. Like, there's a rumor there, David's just put it in the track right the same time that Jay White feud's being discussed because CM Punk likes the way he works. Would Jay White be getting this opportunity without that second show? I don't know. I don't see it, but nothing but positive. As for talking about London, I think it helps London massively. It really does help London massively.
Can I
talking as a fan that's going with of course you can.
I saw, I think it was yesterday, that they've announced more floor sections opening, more lower tier sections opening. So, like you say, that CM Punk boost, the timing of it, it's going to push him over 70,000, 75,000. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I've got to agree when it comes to Wembley. Yeah, Zane, we're going. Sorry, you can't go. I understand you're kind of stuck where you are. You couldn't go.
No.
Why do you have to rub it in? Why do you have to rub it in?
Stop trying to feel sorry for him, right? I've told him, get a camel over the border, then get on a boat, and then get a flight and a beer. So he's had the offer. Good to him.
Yeah,
you can go and stay in. You can live in Andy's shed. He's just built it.
Yeah,
he's got full internet access, something you're not used to. A shark can't bite through his cables.
I'm not 5 minutes in and we're bullying me again. That's
Right, that brings me to our special guest, Zane. As the only person not able to go to Wembley, you have a different opinion than us three. You're going to. I'm assuming you're going to be watching the show when it's on.
Yeah, definitely. I think as far as you mentioning CM Punk pushing the ticket sales over a certain mark is concerned, I think that it won't be as effective because I feel like when they announced All In, the speculations and the rumors, people were sort of buying it on the hope that there's a chance that CM Punk might return. I mean, there also was a possibility that he's in or he's out, but more or less, I don't think Tony Khan would have announced when there wasn't a chance CM Punk was returning. As far as his return is concerned, I genuinely think that they would have left money on the table if CM Punk wasn't being brought back. Because look, on one side, I genuinely think he's bad for the locker room and he's bad for the company. But then again, he does sell tickets and he does put asses into seats. So as a booker, you need to consider that. But he can't really get away without any consequences. While his suspension was fine, he was injured anyways. But his whole spiel about backstage rumors coming out that he tried to get Ace Steel back in, and apparently Tony Khan agreed to that, which is extraordinary, which escapes my mind.
See, that is actually okay. Zane, please sort your audio. Thank you. Right. Yeah. On the subject of Ace Steel was already working backstage, and he had been for 2 months. He was working remotely, so he wasn't going to ruffle any feathers, but he'd been back in the company before the Punk discussions were finalized. So as far as I know, that was just a rumor mill. But, Simon, you are going to Wembley. With Punk's return confirmed, and the rumors of, as we've said, the Jay White feud being discussed, the CM Punk feud being discussed, the Jericho feud being discussed, who do you feel is the best pegged opponent, who can get the biggest rub, who can make the most money, and who, for more than anything, can draw for Wembley?
Who I think it should be is Kenny Omega. It's a no-brainer.
Unfortunately,
I know. I know why this can't happen yet. But I think that is the match that the majority of people would want to see, just because the legitimate heat involved with it. I think it could end up being Jericho, which, I mean,
it should be Jericho. It should be Jericho.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll come to you in a second, Andy. Go on, Si.
Yeah, I think, Punk Jericho, not necessarily even the main event. I think you could have 2 or 3 huge matches at this show. But it's a money match. I think a lot of people want to see it. Yeah, it'll be great.
Okay, Andy, why should it be Chris Jericho?
Because I think size on the money. I think the Omega match will be a good one. But I feel like it needs to be matured a bit more. I think if you rush into it and just shoot it straight away, you're gonna waste it. It's probably the best way to put it. Where I feel if you do the Jericho CM Punk match, just them 2 names alone will be a draw, and you don't really have to have time to build that match.
Well,
just to
tell it,
I agree.
Tell a story. You don't need to tell a story.
I think there's a story to be told with Jericho. With Jericho and Punk at the start, but I also think there's a much bigger story to be told with the Elite and CM Punk, which needs time to simmer. And if you're going to be separating them on 2 shows, I don't know what you think about this, lads, but I was doing a bit of brainstorming. Use Rampage as the filter for where the 2 rosters connect.
Use the pay-per-views. Use the pay-per-views over the next 12 months. Across each other now and again, little interactions, little bits. Then they go back. Fans go nuts because there's nothing happening on weekly TV. Everybody's wanting the next pay-per-view to see if they're going to progress anything.
Okay. Perfect. Now I agree with that. Zane, you have a completely different perspective than us because, unlike you, we all have one leg in the grave. So, where
it's not just one leg in the grave, just for anybody else who doesn't know, Zane's the shittest writer for Sportskeeda as well, so he knows what he's on about.
Yeah, he does. He does know what he's on about. It does help. You literally do this for a living. You make money from writing about wrestling. If you were to write a story to build a feud for CM Punk, who would you want it to be? Who do you think would draw the most views online? Who do you think would get the most hits on those articles?
Okay. MJF, hands down. MJF versus CM Punk 3. Because they're currently tied. And I know it's a bit early because considering that we can't really get any of the elite to work with CM Punk, we do know that CM Punk would really want to work with MJF, and MJF is one of those names who has worked well with CM Punk, and CM Punk never went out or dissed MJF, or there were no reports of MJF actually hitting on CM Punk. So I don't know what the plans are until All In, because one thing to be considered is that All Out is just 2 weeks after All In. So All In is going to be more of an exhibition, because All In 1 was more of an exhibition show where different matches were pulled in together. I think okay, you can correct me on that later. But All In 2, I feel like, considering that it's right before All Out, so they need to save some matches for All Out as well. So with All In, I can see CM Punk just getting a stepping stone sort of a feud that's culminated at All In, and then 2 weeks later we can get something big. Maybe even CM Punk versus Jay White 1 at All In, and CM Punk versus Jay White 2 at All Out, or CM Punk versus Chris Jericho at 1 at All In, and CM Punk versus Chris Jericho 2 at All Out. And honestly, I'm really glad I'm not the one who dropped out because of internet issues. So,
There's a first. Please.
Oh, you've just made Zayn's year, Andy. You've just made his year because you had to leave because of internet issues instead of him.
No, I went to mute my mic by accident and knocked myself out. I pressed the wrong button.
Right. Moving on from CM Punk, boys, because I think we're all super excited. We're all super happy to see him back. Realistically, nobody else drew $1 million for AEW by having their name on the gate. He did. It's only going to be good for the company, just my opinion. And the rest of them just need to be professionals about it and get on and work together, because they're all fully grown adults who've been doing this for a living for a very long time. If they can't make bygones be bygones at this point, they shouldn't be in the business. Right, but moving on to something that happened last night, and I am so freaking excited for, because last night, not one, but 2 matches were confirmed for AEW New Japan Forbidden Door. The first of all, I think we all expected, it is going to be Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega 2 for the United States Championship. And just to get out there, I'm predicting that Don Callis and Takeshita will cost Kenny the belt and then join United Empire, because Will's contract's due up, and I know Tony Khan wants him, and he's already got Aussie Open. So, kind of works. But moving on to the subject I want to talk about, and I am so excited about. At the end of last night's main event, which saw Kazuchika Okada, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Tomohiro Ishii victorious over Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Shota Umino, Moxley's young boy, who did a fantastic performance. Shout out to Shota Umino. He got battered in that match and took the pin. Moxley introduced somebody who wanted to challenge Okada to a match. And it cut to a video of a man hiking through a desert, picking Okada up, talking about how he's supposed to be the best in the world. Well, he's the effing litmus test for the best in the world. Turned around, took his hood down, and it was Bryan Danielson. We are getting Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada at Forbidden Door. I have goosebumps, lads. And this is months out, right? Zayn, I'm going to come to you first, because you watch New Japan a lot more than I do. How excited are you for this match? Did you see this coming, and what do you expect?
Honestly, I really didn't see this coming. Because this was one of those things when Bryan Danielson left WWE, and no one was really sure where he was going to go. I remember one of the things that really popped up was that he was just going to show up in the G1 and face Okada, or have something to do with Okada somewhere. Because we've been building to this for almost 2 years right now, and this is something that I personally have wanted so much. But there's one thing I'd like to quote our old friend Jimmy mentioned. I'm really sad Jimmy isn't here, because I would love to, kind of shit on him because he doesn't want to watch New Japan. He tweeted out that Bryan Danielson hasn't won a major match in AEW, and which is major singles match at least, and which is exciting because although Bryan's kind of bulletproof, his appeal has been sort of taken away. I mean, if he was coming off a big win and him claiming to be that litmus test that apparently everyone's just beaten over the past few years. I think that, but regardless, him versus Okada, just as an exhibition match, brilliant, brilliant. But I mean, I would have loved to see this like 2 years ago. Not to be that salty guy, but I mean, when Okada was still during his IWGP Heavyweight title run, during his great feud with Jay White, and yeah, maybe it's too late, but better late than never. I'm still really, really excited, and it's going to steal the show regardless.
Okay. Now, Andy, you on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. You don't watch New Japan. You enjoy the product when we show it in front of you, but you don't go out of your way to watch it.
I watch Wrestle Kingdom every year.
Yeah.
That's probably about all I do watch. And I keep me all in with a bit of it, you know what I mean? But again, for me personally, it's a great match for me to watch because it's something I haven't seen before. And that's what Forbidden Door is all about, is it not?
Yes. I couldn't agree more. But just to go back to something Zane said, technically, Zane, not everybody's just beating Brian. Because the Hangman Page match was a time limit draw. The Kenny Omega match was a time limit draw. All of Brian's big matches, except for the MJF Iron Man, where he still beat him, if it were a singles match, Brian would have won because he got the first pin. So they already put him over in that respect. He's not lost all of his matches. The shine's not off Brian. He's just not been put into direct booking scenario. Now, Sai, with them putting him in as the new William Regal of the BCC, the guy in charge, the new old vicious Bryan Danielson has returned from Ring of Honor. Do you see this matching up well with the current Okada? Or do you think Okada's really going to have to dig into that well to get a match with Brian that he thinks they both deserve?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've both got different characters now to what they had a year ago. Obviously, Danielson's got a more hardcore element to him. And Okada, you know, I mean, crazy Okada's been around. It's the kind of match that I think the majority of people weren't expecting. Personally, I thought we were going to get Brian against Zack Sabre. And, you know, I wanted Brian against Shingo. But when you think about it, now we've got it. You know, character changes aside. It's one of the most mouth-watering matches on paper. I think, touching on what Zane was saying, I think a lot of AEW fans and New Japan fans, it doesn't even matter so much the character side of it. If you're losing a lot of matches, if you're winning a lot of matches, it's irrelevant. With Brian, you know you are going to get one of the best matches in the ring, and the guy can eat losses. And I think backstage, he's like perhaps the opposite of Chris Jericho, in that maybe he's going to Tony Khan and saying, I want to put this guy over, I want to put this guy over, I want to put this guy over. So it doesn't take away. You can have a 5-star match with both the guys being guys that have lost match after match after match. So for me, it doesn't deter the quality at all. I wasn't expecting it. It's going to be great. And just to add on, before I know I'm moving on slightly, the other announcement, apparently we're getting Eddie Kingston in G1.
Yes, we are. I was about to mention that.
Doesn't quite seem like a fair exchange for Okada, but
no,
hey.
What? Zane, we're going to go to your favorite wrestler, the god of your wrestling life. Eddie Kingston, as Simon has just said, has been announced for the G1. Right, one, obviously this isn't as exciting as Batista would have been for you. Right, but it's the nearest damn thing. Your wrestling Jesus is going to your favorite promotion. Right, go for it.
The announcement I was just so happy. I'm so happy. I'm elated. This is the best thing that's happened to me in like years. Yeah, and good stuff has happened to me. But you know, he's the best wrestler in the world, bar none. Like in the ring, bell to bell, no one compares to him. Danielson, Okada, who cares? Eddie Kingston's in the G1. You're gonna get better matches than Danielson, Okada within the span of his G1 run, right? But
Question.
to be realistic, yeah.
Do you believe that Eddie's unbelievable promo ability and his ability to tell stories will bring what the G1, I feel, misses every year, which is a bit of emotional weight to the matches. I love a tournament. Everybody knows this. I think all wrestling problems should be solved with tournaments. It's my one thing. If I was booking everything, you'd finish in a tournament, right? But I feel that Eddie is probably one of the top 3 promos in the world ever on the stick. He is so good at making you believe and feel for what he's saying. Do you think that will translate into the very tournament-based style of the G1? Or do you think he's going to have to rely on his ring work?
Like, I remember that's a very great point you bring, that's something lacking from the G1. Because I remember, like, a couple of years ago, or maybe it was 3 years ago, when Jay White was in the G1, when he had this whole thing with the Bushi. After every night, after the finishing of every block, he used to grab the mic and say something. And, Jay White just naturally good at stuff. And that would add so much more excitement to the G1 because you had stakes, right? Because G1's considered this place where you get for like almost a month-long fest of just brilliant matches, back-to-back brilliant matches, right? But when you have someone on the mic, and especially appealing to the international audience, Eddie Kingston on the mic, in a G1 setting, and one thing I've noticed is that Eddie Kingston's really good on the mic when he's gassed. And given how he wrestles, he's going to be gassed after one match. And just the promos of him just being really hyperventilating and just going off about how this is something he's wanting to do for 20 years, that's just going to be special. But, whatever Eddie Kingston does is special anyway. So nothing out of the ordinary is just going to be the best thing in the world.
Okay. Andy, we're going to ask you, slight sidebar from Okada versus Bryan. Eddie is going into the G1. I was just asking Zane, with the G1 severely lacking in story progression because it's such a sports-based tournament, do you feel that Eddie's ability to tell stories is going to help factor into him really getting over in the G1, or do you think he's going to have to rely on his ring work?
What ring work?
That's the best answer of the night.
Oh, fantastic. That's why I come to you after Zane. This is the quality content that we promise our fans. Right, moving on. From Japan back over to Western Shores. And we're going to talk about Night Champions. We've got to talk about the Night Champions last week. One, congratulations to Seth Rollins. I think we all saw it coming, but it was the right choice. He's going to be a great champion. Fantastic idea. For me, Night of Champions was a 5 out of 5 show. Like, every match did exactly what it needed to do. The matches were the right length, the stories were the right told. And by the end of the show, I was perfectly fine with AJ and Seth going on first and not last, because the story they told at the end of the night blew me away. When Jay hit that super kick on Roman, I came out of my seat. It was unbelievable.
Woo.
Just unbelievable.
Just correcting, it wasn't Jay, it was Jimmy.
Sorry. They're twins. I get them confused. But Jimmy hit that super kick on Roman. We've all been saying for a while that the Bloodline story needed to progress. It felt like it had been on hold since WrestleMania. And I can see what they were waiting for now. Sai, just talk about it, mate. How do you feel this is going to work?
I mean, you're right. That was an absolutely beautiful, spellbinding moment. The ratings were up across the board. I think it got 2.6 million viewers. Now, this is likely just word of mouth from the start of that segment. As it's building, people texting people saying, you got to check this out. And the ratings just went up. And literally, just a little hug. And you're waiting for it. And you're waiting for it. Is Roman going to become Superface Roman? Is he going to do things the right way? No. Solo was loyal all along. They pulled me in, they spun me around, and they spat me out, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
It's
Andy, I am like Sai. I think, one, to be able to tell a story in professional wrestling that has lasted 13 months and is still this good and still this well received by the populace needs to be applauded. If this was you, because this is going to segue into our next topic, and you had to end this, who kills Napoleon? Who takes down Alexander the Great?
It's got to be Jay.
Okay,
it's got to be Jay, and I think that's the way they're doing it, because Jay was the one that started the bloodline storyline with Roman. Because you remember Roman gave him a terrible time at the beginning. He bullied him. He done everything he needed done to him. Then Jimmy come in, and it's like reverse engineered, isn't it now? So now they've dealt with Sam. I think he's still got to deal with Sammy somewhere along the way potentially, because otherwise there's a risk Sammy could become just lost in the shuffle again. Which I don't know whether that's what WWE's thing is to do. But I just think like the way that they've triggered the whole Jimmy situation now, that will then lead on to Jay at some point, and Jay will be the final boss for Roman.
Okay.
I like that.
Now,
and one reason...
Jay...
Sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say, just to add, one reason why I love that, the thought of Jey Uso getting the belt, is he's the perfect opponent for Dominic Mysterio to cash the briefcase in on. Yeah.
We'll get to that. For me, I think Jay is the final nail in the coffin. I agree with Andy. That's what is going to be useful, but I don't think he's going to be the one to take the title off Roman. I think he's going to be the reason Roman loses the belt, which is then going to lead to the match, which Jay will then win.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next thing. I don't feel Jay's going to be the title winner, but I do think Jay is the final bloodline boss. Whether that's for the belt or whether that's after the belt's gone is another story.
No, that makes sense. Everybody knows who I think should beat Roman. Everybody knows. I've been banging on about it for 2 years. He's Dusty's son, and somebody's got to finish the story, and Money in the Bank's just around the corner. So everybody knows who I think it is. Now, go around the room. Andy?
I think one thing we should do is on our podcast, I'm going to see if I can make something up on this. We need to make a Cody suffer meter, so we can see how much he's suffered and whether he's suffered enough or whether he's still not quite there yet.
the adversity meter. It fills up over the months until he's just faced enough to get the title back. That'd be fantastic. We need to do this. Editor,
I think at the moment he's hovering around US title on the meter. I don't think he's come over into. He's out of Stardust mode, yeah, but he hasn't come over the meter yet.
Right, so go around the room. Everyone knows I think Cody should beat Roman. Andy, who do you think should beat Roman?
Hard one. I think if you're doing it for the company, it's got to be Cody. Okay. But if you're trying to make a new star, Dominic Mysterio, I know that's genuinely, I do. I think Dom's good, and he can be a US title around that way. But over the last 2 or 3 months, it's like he's just grown up in front of our eyes. He has matured so much, and he looks so comfortable in what he's doing. And he just it's not even Ray heat anymore. He's getting his own genuine heat. Yeah.
It was bordering on X-Pac heat a couple of weeks back, but then we discovered that was just piped in crowd noise. So it's absolutely fine. We've all been there live at Mania. We heard the crowd reaction. That boy, and on Raw the following night, everybody hates him. Like, he is getting.
But even Mania weekend, though, he was still a bit tentative. Where now he just looks like he's right in his stride. He looks like he owns that. He owns the whole Judgment Day. There was a reason on Raw that Damian Priest took the pin and not Dom. Tell you that.
Good point. That's a very good point. So I'm going to come to you last because I already know what your answer is. Zane, who should beat Roman Reigns and why?
Eddie Kingston. It's very it's self-explanatory why he should do that. Okay, no, please, don't make me wait. I'll give you my real answer. Jey Uso. And let me explain why. One thing when I've truly believed in is that when wrestling's great, it's the best thing on the planet. Nothing compares to it. And the Bloodline storyline has been the absolute best. So I think that for Roman to take the first singles loss in 3 years, almost 3 years at this point, over 3 years actually, I think it should be to Jey Uso, and Jey Uso deserves the win. And along with the win, it shouldn't just be that he's doing it for the bloodline. There needs to be some sort of reward because of all the manipulation and abuse he suffered. Like just like a cherry on top, just to have those titles around him. And I feel like then Dom can take the titles off him if that's what you guys have a hard on about. Because
I
that's
mean,
what I'm sensing
do you know
from the
one
start.
thing? Well, do you know what?
Not
Mate,
me.
one thing I will say is like one thing. Jay has gone through a lot of it. If you look at it, he's gone through he's probably Cody's probably got a versus the envy with him because he's been through a lot of adversity Jay with that. But
Jey Uso would have broken the adversity meter by now.
yeah. But also one thing just to say there is what could be a good kind of point and what would be really, really a good visual and stuff is Jay beats Roman. Whoever wins Money in the Bank cashes it in on Jay, takes the title, and Roman's in the bottom of the turnbuckle, like laughing his head off, pointing at him. As if, like you've beat it's all, and then the cards of the next night. You could go down the route of it's all right getting to the Mountain Kids, but you couldn't keep hold of it, could you? You know what I mean? Something along them lines.
This is possible, right, Si?
That's the worst idea I've ever. That's the worst idea.
Whoa. We are a positive Pete's on this podcast, Zane. We do not negatively review each other's ideas. Right? You don't get to just come on here with all your negativity and start naysaying my co-host.
I love Andy. I think he's the smartest person on wrestling Twitter right now, right? And I just love Andy and I love his ideas. I've always loved his ideas. It's just that this one doesn't make sense to me.
Why doesn't it make sense? Why doesn't it make sense?
One, Zane, you forgot to add that he's the sexiest member of wrestling media, which is his most important title, right? And two, I would like you to explain in 10 words or less why that perfectly valid idea that Andy just laid out doesn't make sense.
Because Roman laughing at it and Jay not being able to hold the titles just ruins the entire storyline. That's what they've built up to, and that just proves Roman right. Roman doesn't need to get the loss.
Okay. So you answer me this question, right? Well, big thing is, one, it gets the titles off Roman, right? Two, after Jay beats Roman, what does Jay do then? What does Jay do with the belts? Because I tell you what, he would not be able to carry them belts. It'd be awful. He'd be awful with the belts. So by getting the belts off in the same night, why does he?
Because
here's the thing, Zane. What you're forgetting is to quote Triple H: "Stories never end in WWE." So for Jay to beat Roman, to take down the tribal chief, to get that vindication, to finally beat him, and then for Roman to screw him over the next night, an hour later, whenever, is the perfect continuation of the story. Except now Roman has established himself as the villain and the outcast in the bloodline who's trying to destroy it himself.
Yeah, but so also it still gives a bit more vindication to... Yeah. And one more thing, it also gives vindication to Roman's reign at the fact that Jey Uso could not keep hold of the belt and Roman kept it for so long.
Yeah, but having Jay lose the titles on the same night that he won just kind of defeats the point of him defeating Roman Reigns. If he beat Reigns and
work to Sting,
because over the span of the past 2 years where he's been just brutalized by Roman Reigns and whatever the hell Reigns has done to him, he needs that moment not ruined on the same night. Because that's a feel-good moment that you want. You need the fans to have that, at least for a night, not just entirely just cash in on Jay right at that time.
You could have Roman comes out and beats him the next night and then takes it off and then. You could have it the next night the same way. You know what I mean? It could work either way. Yeah, because the one thing you don't want is you don't want meningitis.
Right. Now, we've all had our piece and it's caused a lovely discussion. But Simon has been waiting very patiently to explain to me why Dominic Mysterio beat Roman Reigns.
Arigato. Right. Basically, I can see both of your guys' viewpoints. Nothing personal, Andy, but I'm actually with Zane on this one, which is something I've never said before and I'll probably never say again. The reason being, Roman's main achievement that you want to see him lose isn't that title belt. It's not the title belt. It is the longevity of his reign. Yeah. So that's what makes him special. 1,000 days plus. We haven't had this in 35 years. If he loses it and gets it back, it's not as special from that point forward.
No, I'm not saying that he loses it and gets it back. What I'm saying is he loses it and Jay loses it, and that makes that 1,000 days even more special because it's like, what an achievement he's done there because Jay couldn't even hold it for the day.
No, Roman doesn't
and
have
somebody
to get
else loses
back.
it, so somebody else cashes it. Yeah. What I'm saying is, Roman gets beat by Jay, and then somebody else runs in with the money in the bank, cashes it in, and beats Jay, and Roman's on the floor laughing. And then and then their storyline can continue with that. I kept it for over 1,000. You couldn't even keep it for 1 day, kid. And then we got with them two can go on. I mean, title gets away. The title goes way away from it. But all good.
It's not what I personally want to see, but storyline wise, I'd be entertained by that. Yeah, absolutely. But the point I'm making is the biggest achievement that Roman has got isn't the 1, 2, or 3, however many straps he's got on his shoulders. It's the length of that title reign, which is why, to answer your original question, do you remember when the Usos got a couple of days away from breaking the all-time record for the tag team belts? They defended against the New Day, who were the previous record
the current holders, yeah.
Yeah. So what if they do something similar to this? Okay. The belt was lost in 1988 by Hulk Hogan, okay, who has said he's training for one last match. So what if in a year, we'll give the old guy a year to train. Don't laugh, I'm not finished. We'll give the guy a year to train, and he comes back, and a day before Roman beats his record, we have Hulk versus Roman. Yeah. What do you think?
Brother. Nick, can I please reply to this, right? So first of all, can we just clear the first part, right? First, you agreeing with Zayn side. Just remember, bros before host. That's all I've got to say on that one, right? And 2 is you putting that out into the universe, mate. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Can I add something? I take that back when I said the Andy's ideas was the worst idea I've heard ever. I think this is the worst idea I've heard in wrestling ever.
Hey, you leave Sai alone. That was a great idea. There you go. That's how you do it, Sai.
Thank you. You literally just said, Zayn, that you wanted Eddie Kingston to beat Roman Reigns, and yet having Hulk challenge Roman is the worst idea ever. Make it make sense, dude.
Eddie beating Roman is the perfect thing to happen. Like, it restores order to the universe. It solves hunger. It solves climate change. You get it?
Yeah. Just quick though, while we got everyone. What's your thoughts on Roman's new belt?
First. I was about to come to that.
It's beautiful.
I was about to come to that. What is everybody's thoughts on that new title? Because I don't think it looks as good as the World Heavyweight. Hang on a sec. I'll come to you first, but I don't think it looks as good as the World Heavyweight title myself. But I think it's very pretty. Andy?
I had Sai's voice echo in my head. Less is more. That's all I kept thinking. Honest to God, I'm not even messing. And less is more in this race because they've just touched it a little bit, but it makes such a difference and it looks lovely.
Well, what did I say to you the other week? I bet they just make it black and gold. And they've just made it black and gold. It's Triple H. The way I look at it is Triple H is like, right, you changed my NXT. Well, now...
Do you think that... do you think Stephanie has black and gold thongs?
Possibly.
Right, do we think... She definitely does have black and gold thongs, doesn't she?
Yeah, definitely. Triple H has got a thing for black and gold. Si, what do you think about it?
It's not red panty day, it's black and gold day, isn't it?
No, it is in that house.
I can't have this on the podcast. For me, right, the way I see it, on social media, when you're using Facebook, Twitter, whatever you're using now, you get used to it with a white background, and then you discover dark mode, and the background is black, and it's the coolest thing ever when you first find it. That is exactly what this new title belt is, because it's just dark, and it says exactly what it needs to say on it, and it suits Roman to a T, and the fact that that's been made for him now, he's not losing it anytime soon. Another year at least.
At least. Well, the way I look at it, Zayn, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but I view it as Triple H saying, well, you took NXT away from me, but now I'm putting NXT all over the main roster because now the WWE Championship looks like an NXT title. It looks like a very pretty NXT title,
That's a
but it looks
good
like
point.
it looks like an NXT title,
Yeah.
and it's black and gold. What do you think of the belt, Zane? Do you think he needed it? Are you disappointed that this effectively ends the lineage, lads, of the WWE Championship? They've just killed it.
It messes the lineage up for sure. I don't know if it ends it because honestly, as far as the title's concerned, I don't really love it. Don't really hate it. It might grow on me in a bit. But I agree with your thing that it could possibly be that you ruin my NXT, I ruin your main roster thing going on with Triple H. As far as the belts are concerned, I honestly would have preferred if he just retired the Universal title and either merge them because the WWE Championship itself alone, I love that belt. Like I know it has some polarizing opinions, but that's a really beautiful belt. It just has a logo on it and does the thing. The new one, not really a fan of it right now. Might grow on me as far as the lineages are concerned. I'm really confused as to how they're going to take it with that. But I don't think this is going to last for long because they do need a WWE championship. Like that's basically a cornerstone of the entire company. So I think one way or another, the simple WWE belt, or they're going to rename it or something. But the WWE championship is going to be somewhere around the corner. They're going to have it after Roman drops the belt. So.
Right, Sai, this, according to all reports, is it for the WWE Championship. That title that has meant more to professional wrestling than any other belt, with the exception of the NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
Oh, beautiful belt. No, do you remember though? This has happened before. We've seen all this before. 2002, Chris Jericho carried the world title and the WCW title into WrestleMania, and then we had a new unified title presented.
So Brock Lesnar.
And then it's come back. It was gone for a while and it comes back. Sometimes with the fickleness of fans, you've got to take something away, make them want it, and reintroduce it. So I'm not getting too sad that it's gone forever because no, it'll be back.
I'll tell you one thing I just want to say.
Go on.
Because I'm really annoyed with this. I've seen a lot of people go mad at WWE for introducing new belts. I've seen people go mad because they're saying that AEW might introduce a new belt. You know, as you all know, I'm a boxing fan, quite well, like watching boxing. The WBC and WBO and WBA introduce super champions, diamond champions, gold champions. There's so many different bloody interim world titles. WBA have a regular and super champion, that they have all sorts of stuff, and it's like, don't go mad at wrestling when even in a legit combat sport they do it all the time. It's nothing new.
Well, for me, I'm not upset that they've introduced a couple of new belts. I think the World Heavyweight Championship is gorgeous, and I think Raw needed a title. So they couldn't take the belts off Roman right now. They had to build a new belt. It made perfect sense. It's a gorgeous belt. Seth Rollins is going to do a great job with it. Give it a few months. It's got a fresh lineage. It'll mean something. You have to give it time. I myself get why Roman's belt is the undisputed WWE Universal title. It's because that's the belt he's had the reign with. He picked up the WWE Championship halfway through. It's the Universal title that needs to carry on for Roman's reign to carry on. No pun intended. But when all is said and done, Zane brought up a very good point. Wrestling repeats itself. At some point, the WWE Championship will raise its head again. When they probably unify the World Heavyweight Championship and Roman's belt into the new WWE Championship, and we see the return of the Winged Eagle or something along those lines. How long do you see this roster split, Andy? How long do you see it lasting? They've already basically had AJ's been on Raw, Cody's been backstage.
I was literally going to say it's already gone, really, hasn't it? And I think they were stupid for doing it in the first place. I think it's a good concept, but they already booked themselves into a corner. And also, I feel like because of the Endeavour purchase, they're not going to have the rosters big enough to be able to do it properly.
Well, this is the thing I was going to bring up. Sai, you've made the point in the past, and I've agreed with you. When WWE did the original brand split back in 2002, the original Raw, when Ric Flair was GM on Raw and Vince was GM on SmackDown. Undertaker was first pick and Triple H was first pick, if I remember correctly. It made sense. Vince had beaten his competition He had bought WCW. He had bought ECW. There were no other games left in town. So you create your own competition by splitting your rosters and helping build both brands via false competition within your own company, which helps everybody win. Now there is
don't forget
legitimate...
Don't forget he also had the talents that come with them companies that he beat.
No,
doesn't have that anymore.
I was getting to that. He had absorbed WCW. He had absorbed ECW. He'd taken everybody's contract that were willing to take a pay cut and came in, and he had a hell of a lot of talent on top. It made sense. There was no other game in town. He was the only one. Create your own competition to feasibly build stars. Now there is competition. There are plenty of other games in town for wrestlers to work at. You have the big dance in AEW and New Japan. You have slightly smaller companies, Ring of Honor, which I know technically is AEW, but it's still technically a separate brand. You're Ring of Honor. You've got Impact. You've got even smaller companies like GCW. There are plenty of places for wrestlers to ply their trade now and for competition to be bred. Does it now really not behoove the company to be having this brand split and portraying false competition when there are legitimate places for other people to work? Sorry?
I agree with everything you've just said. It makes no sense now. The whole point of the second championship belt was to create your own competition. Now that you don't need that, you don't need a second championship belt. Less is more. You've got two titles, you've got two champions. Neither one is as prestigious. That's how I see it.
Okay. Zane, you're younger than all of us. You aren't as miserable as the rest of us. You have a slightly more, I hope, optimistic opinion on the subject than we would, because I completely agree with Simon. Obviously, I'm Andy. Quickly, do you agree with us that the brand split's kind of pointless now, or?
Yeah, I do, but I don't.
Do you prefer one champion, or do you prefer two champions?
So I prefer one champion. I'm the same as Si, less is more, honestly to God. But I don't agree with. I agree with you in the sense of the brand split and stuff, but as for the competition for competition, I don't think that's the problem with WWE at the moment. They've just gone through a major. They're going to cut back. They can't afford to have a brand split, in my opinion. I think that's the biggest thing for me from a business perspective. After the merger, they always want to settle everything down over the first 18 months to 2 years. And I just don't see where they're going to bring in more stars to make it. And I think that, by the fact that normally around the time after Mania is when they start debuting new people and stuff, and we've seen a lot of NXT stars come up. And I think that's down to the fact is because it's cost cutting and it's, well, let's get these up here and it doesn't cost us nothing, but we're still getting the same effect until we get through the rest of the merger and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah. No, I can see that. It's a logical standpoint. All right, Zane. One champion, two champions. What do you think they need to do? Do you think they now need to split the tag titles? So we have two sets of tag titles because we have two top dogs. Should we have set tag titles in each belt? Or at this point, would you like to see them in 6 months to a year merge all those belts back and we go back to having one championship?
Look, I'm, as much as I love to disagree with you guys, I have to side with you on the brand split thing, right? I agree that it's really
everybody got to each animal head for the bastard borders. Zane just agreed with us. The end is nigh.
Yeah, but I do disagree on the championship belts, the number of the belts. I really think there should be two champions. Here's the thing, because right now it might not make enough sense because Rollins just feels like the World Heavyweight Championship just feels like, look, here's the title just because Roman ain't dropping the big belts anytime.
It's the consolation prize.
Yeah, it's the consolation prize, precisely. But I really think there should be two champions because the roster is too big and it keeps two big stories running. Now, I understand that AEW is running quite well with one championship, one main championship. But I do think that WWE has functioned well in the past with two champions, back when the big gold was still a thing and the Raw and SmackDown were going. Now, regardless of that, they can do well with two championships existing without a brand split. So, as far as the tag titles are concerned, yeah, sure, make them one, right? I don't see a point in having two different tag team championships. But especially when they're merged at this point, because everything's merged. But having two women's titles, two men's main titles, and a single tag team championship, I think that's how I would prefer it. but that's precisely because I feel like having two major titles and having a story running that way makes it all the more interesting.
Okay. Right. Well,
just to go back, sorry, Nick, just to say with the tag team titles, I don't know whether they should be split, but Owens and Zayn, their main thing was to beat the Usos. They've done that on multiple occasions, and Roman and thing. It's time for them to get the belts took off them now.
I'd agree. I love Kevin and Sammy. I do. I've followed them since they were El Generico and Kevin Steen years ago. But I agree with Andy. The function. Hang on a sec, the function of them taking those titles has been fulfilled. It's now time to put somebody else over. Go on.
And the perfect team for it, after seeing the way they've just fitted straight into that hole that was created for them, is Pretty Deadly. Next champions. Yeah.
I agree. No. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
I'd like to see Finn Balor and Damian Priest.
Oh, that'd be nice. Just
get more goals into the Goodman's Day.
Finn deserves a title run of some kind, and Damian Priest needs to be pushed before he turns 42. Just quickly, because we are fast running out of time, lads. Last subject of the night: Money in the Bank. Andy, going to come to you first. You're going. Who do you want in the match? Who do you want to win?
Oh, I've frozen again, I think.
No, you're there. You're on delay, and I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so who do you want in Money in the Bank, and who do you want to win?
Glad LA Knight's in it. Made up he's there.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Cody in it. The reason I don't want Nick. The reason I don't want to see Cody in it because at the moment Cody's got his hands full with Brock, and I like the way that storyline's going with that. He said in his own words.
But that's the point. Adam Pearce can put him in the match. Cody doesn't want to be in the match because his attention is focused on Brock.
Why would Adam Pearce be in the match?
How well has it been written? Cody can't be in the match, and it's deliberate because you can't climb a ladder with a broken arm. Mm-hmm. It's a perfect story, well thought out to keep him out of that match.
Yeah, and also, it's as Cody said himself, he doesn't care about anything else at the moment apart from dealing with Brock Lesnar. It's a perfect way to do it. People would expect, everybody was saying the night after Mania, we'll go on and win Money in the Bank. No, we don't want that. We don't want it to be like that. Do you know what I mean? He'll win when he's ready.
Rumble.
Yeah.
I said it. He's going to win at the Rumble. But I agree. So who do you want to win Money in the Bank?
Dominic Mysterio.
Okay. Simon, who do you want to win Money in the Bank?
I would love to see Dominic win, but I would also love to see LA Knight win. They're my two.
Zane, who do you want to win Money in the Bank?
LA Knight.
Yes.
The dude's over as hell.
But I agree. Who do you go after then? Does he go after Seth?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so good. Yeah.
Seth is the perfect foil. Right, lads. We are coming up to the end of the show. This is the part of the show when I like to open the floor to our guest. Zane, have you got anything you want to plug? Have you got anything you want to talk about specifically? The floor is yours. Go.
Yeah, so I was watching Eddie Kingston's old feud with John Moxley leading into full year 2020. And I just want to talk about how brilliant that was. Do you guys remember? It was 2020. Yeah, it was 2020. The promo where he talked about his mother, and that was just brilliant. I don't have anything to plug, so I guess
Sorry, Zane's sound is just cut out. I don't know what happened.
Well, that's remarkably unexpected.
I don't know what happened, folks. Right,
say stupid things, get stupid things happen.
It's just what happened. But first of all, I'd like to say, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our show. Thank you so much for joining us this week. I'm sorry we couldn't make it the last couple of weeks. We had technical issues. As you can see, Andy's been building a new house.
It's getting there.
There is. He's been building a new house, and we're almost there. This is going to look like a palace in the next couple of months. You won't believe it. It's going to be amazing. Simon, it's good to see you as always, my friend. I will see you again soon. Andy, It's been fantastic to see you again. And I'd just like to give a special shout out to our friend Zane. Zane, I'm going to unmute you now. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining us. Like, I know everything that's going on in your country now. From what you told me, must be very difficult. So, stay safe.
Imran Khan.
Stay safe. Look after yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy what we do here at the Wrestling Legion, please join the Legion. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. If you've stayed to the end of the video, it must be worth giving us a like. It's free. It really helps us out, and it's the only way the YouTube algorithm knows we exist. Thank you so much for joining us. I love you all. I've been Nick the Geek. That's been Simon. That's been Andy. And that's been Zane. See you next week.